welcome. We have an absolutely amazing crowd of guests here. We have none other than a group of Jeopardy champions, a peril of Jeopardy champions with us to celebrate our charity show this year. So thank you, all of you, for coming and helping us support the World Central Kitchen, an amazing charity. And hopefully at this point we've already raised millions of pounds and millions of dollars, and it's all going swimmingly and everything's fine. But no, thank you very much for coming. For people who don't know you around the room, we have Nicholas Cascone, Jeopardy season 37 3-times champion and Champions Wildcard Club's bracket winner,
one-time champion.
One-time champion, sorry. My notes are wrong. Tournament of Champion quarter-finalist and actor in none other than Star Trek, 2-time Star Trek guest appearances. Ray Lalonde, season 39, 13 times Jeopardy streak. Tournament of Champions quarter-finalist. And a set designer by trade, including productions, including The Expanse and the upcoming Section 31. Yungsheng Wang, season 38, 3-time streak. We have you as the Champions Wildcard Hearts bracket winner, Tournament of Champions quarter-finalist, and 2-time Jeopardy Honours Award winner. Congratulations
That's right.
on that.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Deb Bilodeau, season 39, 1-time winner and 2024 Champions Wildcard winner, Tournament of Champions quarter-finalist. Rounding off this amazing group of guests, we also have Yogesh Raut, season 39, 3-times winner, 2024 Tournament of Champions champion, and this year's Tournament of Champions champion. Sorry, I should have gotten that with a bit more aplomb.
And this all out to pasture. That's what he has.
That's exactly. And on top of that,
first to go.
And currently competing in the Jeopardy Masters. And joining me for this as well is Jared Watson. You were on Jeopardy, right? You did something? Did you?
I guess I was. Yeah.
You just won 3 games and semi-finalist on the Tournament of the Champions. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Everyone, thank you very much for coming. We'll go around the room of questions, but my first question to you all is, what got you thinking, hey, I can do this. I can go on Jeopardy and I can play this game. I can become a Jeopardy champion. Let's start with you, Nicholas. What got you into Jeopardy?
Well, I've been watching since I was a little boy, but then didn't. Actually, I tried out in '87. I want to say for maybe the one of the very early seasons, and wasn't accepted, and then kind of didn't think about being a contestant until I got remarried, and my wife was a huge fan, and so I went back to watching it every day. And then she sort of gently suggested I take the online test, and suggested that several times, again and again. And then I took it, and the rest is history. So it was really her brainchild, I have to say.
Fantastic. Ray, how about you?
Once again, grew up watching it after school with my mom, and just was always kind of in the background. And then as later on in adulthood, I thought, I'll try, take the test. At that point, I did a couple of in-person tests back when they still had them. Got onto the list, never got called. 4th time's a charm. I did it during the pandemic online, and they did everything on Zoom. And, just after 14 months of waiting, they called me up off the street. Oh, want to come to LA? Yes, I do. And there I was.
Absolutely fantastic. How about you, Deb?
Same story. I'm sure you'll get into this kind of thing, but same time, my mom was getting me into Jeopardy. She was getting me into Star Trek, so kind of go hand in hand in terms of nerd pursuits. So yeah, watching it since I was a kid, once I started beating my parents, I was like, all right, maybe I should try. I always really wanted to be on a teen tournament, but
Yungsheng.
I tried watching it as a kid, but I went to high school like 40 minutes away from my town, and they would air Jeopardy in Louisiana at like a really random time because I guess nobody was smart in prime time. So they would play Wheel of Fortune, but they wouldn't play Jeopardy. So like my bus would have to really be on time for me to catch Jeopardy live at like 3 p.m. Central Time. So I could catch it on and off, but then I was always like kind of good at trivia and I applied for other game shows before, and then one day I was really bored during the pandemic, and then I took the online test, and somehow they called me like a month later. So I only really had one audition cycle. Wow. And then I was doing this other game show on that actually aired on January 6th. I wasn't there, but so I had to wait a year before I can get on Jeopardy again. So during that entire time, I was like doing a crash course on just, brushing up on all my categories and watching the show and going back in the archive and just going like that. So I was actually really, really, really lucky.
Oh, that's fantastic. Finally, Yogesh.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably hitting a lot of the same notes as the others. Watched it as a child. I basically grew up with it. The modern Trebek version premiered the same year I was born, so it's kind of been in parallel with my life. I remember watching people like India Cooper, Bob Harris, when I was young, and I got many. In addition to doing the test every year, I got many in-person auditions, at least twice when I was in college. One was in Indianapolis. My father, I took off the Friday from my job, and my father drove me to Indianapolis, I remember. And after that I had in-person auditions, I don't know, Chicago, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, many different places. Yeah. And then, during the pandemic, I guess, they called, I don't know what, there was like a regime change at the show itself, new turnover in staff. And then, I did my Zoom pandemic audition, I told a story about meeting India Cooper, and telling her how much it meant watching her as a child. And I guess that kind of, resonated with them. And they texted me first. I never got the quote unquote call. They texted me and were like, we're thinking about you, but could you please send us the URL of your podcast first? Oh. And I was like, let me just go into iTunes and make a few notes about, the opinions expressed in these by guests are not necessarily shared by the host.
What's your podcast?
It's called Recreational Thinking. Yungsheng, Deb, and Jared have all been on it. Ray, we're in the process of scheduling. Yeah. Nick is, of course, also welcome. Yeah.
It's a great time.
Let's just go around the table again. What's your favorite series and who's your favorite captain? This is the bog standard, Star Trek question we always ask the guests. It's the boilerplate every podcast. What was your favorite series? Who's your favorite captain? Let's go back around the room. Let's go to Yogesh.
I was a big fan growing up, actually, of Star Trek's sister series, Mission Impossible, which was produced also by Desi Liu and even shared one major cast member. So I guess I would say Jim Phelps is my favorite captain.
How about yourself, Yungsheng?
So I love the Next Generation, but I really dig Deep Space Nine. I would watch it in conjunction with like Babylon 5.
Oh, man of taste.
On Saturday nights. So the whole vibe of station, war, peace, like how are we going to win this war? How are we going to make peace? I love the kind of overarching like meta plot lines going through the seasons. I love kind of the dark kind of edginess when it comes to what you do to win a war, or the alliances you make, the alliances you break. Like, I love that stuff. So so it was really Deep Space Nine for me.
Incredible. How about you, Deb?
I also really love Deep Space Nine. I've seen all the series except for the more recent animated ones. And I just find that Sisko has some of just the best episodes in the series. Beyond the Stars, the other one where he's the science fiction writer in the 50s, and where he's the Bell Riots. I just find that for me, it complicates the universe in a really interesting way. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's prescient. I don't know. He just has some of the best character work. Although I will say, I feel like I have to contribute another thing, is that I think that people like to shit on Kirk, and I like Kirk. I'm gonna say it. I like Kirk too.
Two votes here for DS9. That makes me very happy because that series was very much ahead of its time in terms of serialized storytelling. It was quite transcendent.
Yeah.
Ray, where does your heart lie?
I'm going to be boring and just go old-fashioned. I mean, I grew up with Kirk, and he was sort of like, he had to be all things to all people, right? He was the commander, he was the love interest, he was the action hero. They gave him all the hats to wear. And I think that was a big job for him. And I think he did it very well. So
fantastic.
He's my guy.
Nick.
So.
I'm from Ray's generation, and James T. Kirk he sort of set the groundwork. But from an acting standpoint, he borders on camp so frequently that I just find it really compelling. I just find that really fun to watch. And then I'm also going to shout out Chris Pine, who had a very difficult acting challenge playing a character who so well, so that you're scrutinizing him, to any misstep, any hole in the performance that a real fan would feel was untrue to what's so well established. And I thought he pulled that off really, really well. I didn't see any flaw in that. I could totally believe that was young Kirk, and that's a very hard acting challenge to meet. So I want to, I think that was fun for me to watch him meet that challenge. Yeah.
Jared, I'm neglecting you entirely. You are equally among this set of amazing people. What was your favorite? I already know it, but I just want you to tell me.
Yeah, y'all know me. I don't mind yielding the floor in this particular instance. But no, I grew up on TNG. Like I've said before on episodes of this show and other iterations, like Star Trek The Next Generation just kind of feels like a warm blanket to me. It's something I can just always go back to and watch any episode anytime. So I think, Picard is my captain, and it's there's not even that much logic to it. It's just that was what I grew up on. That is what I latched onto at the very beginning. So I really can't give any other answer, honestly.
So what is it like preparing for Jeopardy without revealing your secrets? Obviously you guys are got your certain techniques you keep to yourself, but how do you prepare or study for like upcoming shows, or if you're going on, what's your sort of general rhythm or your general go-to technique and go, oh right, now I'm getting into it, this is my evening?
You talk about revealing your secrets. I really don't think there are secrets. The secret is it's just a lot of material, and what can you do to get the best parts of it for yourself? So it's like you can tell other people what you do, if they're not gonna commit to the level that you are, doesn't mean anything to them. But anyway, so
at that level, people's knowledge areas are a Venn diagram that mostly overlaps, and so everybody knows most of the stuff that's being asked, and it's about the buzzer race. And the more you can do to time that buzzer best, and if there are rhythm games, there are reaction time programs, and I would not neglect that piece if I were advising someone who was about to go on. I would advise them to spend some time getting their reaction time, seeing if they can shave a millisecond or so off, or 10 off of that. That'd be useful.
I mean, I'll give a straight answer for the layperson. It's like a lot of watching the show, thinking about what categories you're gonna be on the show, where you're weak. So it's like, I was explaining it to friends, like it's studying for every AP test at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
You watch a lot of videos on YouTube that are summarizing the 100 Years' War. You read a lot of Wikipedia. People ask if there's a study guide. Obviously there's no study guide, but there are a lot of online resources for, like, there are a lot of little books or ebooks that we've all read about mastering the buzzer. There are people who are very active in the online community about how to prep for Jeopardy. So, you can keep going forever.
Once you've kind of gone through your journey on Jeopardy, I think talking to future prospective contestants is one way to kind of keep yourself in the game in a way. And we tend to find each other in one way or another. So, don't be shy. We'll We'll find you and we'll talk.
I think you have to cover your bases, your basics, like your geography, every capital of every country ever, every U.S. president ever, in order. Best picture winners, Shakespeare, opera, and like memorization can go so far, but like what I found is like I took it as like an opportunity to like enrich myself. So I was like, oh, like I think there was a question last week or this week about like Rigoletto, and I was like, oh, I know that because I actually watched the whole opera on YouTube and didn't fall asleep. So now I know what the context is for that, and now I'm a better person for it. So like I think you want to build your knowledge base as broadly as possible, and then you also have to read like every gossip blog, keep up in the news, and all the pop culture stuff that you may not think comes up, but it does come up. It comes up fairly frequently. There's always like a pop culture, music, something category.
TV.
So TV, yeah, like all that stuff. Like watching TV is actually a great way of preparing for Jeopardy because like they're going to ask you about XYZ show or XYZ actor in a show, and then you can kind of take that like, oh, okay, well that actor was in this, he's also in this, or that actress was in this and also in this, and then you can kind of make your connections. And if your brain works that way, that makes you a better Jeopardy player because then you'll be able to connect all this information together in your Madam Web conspiracy of like your brain, and then you work on the reaction time. If you're like just going in there playing the first time, you might be able to kind of get past the reaction time. Once you're competing with like people like everyone here, it's timing is everything. It's everyone knows the same things. It's just about the timing. There may be one or two things that that someone else may not know, but that edge is only going to go so far. So you really have to work on the timing.
One of the things too is that what kills you is not what you don't know, it's what you have know. And sometimes it's really helpful just to go back and just reinforce. You haven't taken your chemistry since university or whatever. Go back and just reinforce your principles, get all your little notes down, and the things, it'll pop back in your head that much faster because it's a half a second and you're dead. So
it's worse it's worse to be wrong than it is to not know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the web comes in when Final Jeopardy comes up because it usually is like a thing leading to a thing leading to a thing that unlocks it. Like, aha, I got it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they all kind of covered it, right? You start off with the natural curiosity about the world, and then you kind of supplement it. You could try to go a little bit further to learn about the area. There was a country music category, I think, in a recent episode I did well on. That was pretty much the result of an effortful effort to learn about country music, which was, kind of the one subgenre I wasn't naturally exposed to. So yeah, you go just a little bit further, and then you systematize your knowledge. Sporkle.com is a very good resource for doing what Yungsheng said, systematically learning the presidents, the capitals, the flags, the best picture winners, etc. Yeah, and then of course when it comes to actual gameplay, I mean, like it's a physical activity, like any physical thing, try to be in shape, try to be well rested, have the proper kind of nutrition, and then, when you're up there, in terms of, timing is absolutely, the buzzer timing is absolutely a big thing. It's difficult to prep for because it's so idiosyncratic. Even the people who are best at it are like getting in at, like slightly over 50% is superlative. It's like baseball where if you, get a hit 1 out of every 3 times, you're one of the best ever. Like it's so you have to do, and so you have to also kind of roll with the punches while you're up there because you're trying to get in on everything, and 2/3 of the time you're not, and that one special fact you're so proud of yourself for remembering, you'll buzz on it and someone else will beat you to it, and you just have to kind of shrug it off. Yep. There's higher level strategy at this point. Kind of, there was a whole circuit of people playing on what's called the Jeopardy simulator, originally designed by a man named Bill Shantz. And yeah, I mean, people gave James Holzhauer credit for introducing these strategies. Actually, all of them were practiced by everyone on the Jeopardy simulator well before he ever went on Jeopardy, including James. But well before I don't know if any one person can be said to have invented them. But starting at the bottom of the board, hunting for daily doubles, betting big on daily doubles, jumping around the so-called forest bounce of jumping around categories. I mean, yeah, these are all things, they do require kind of getting to a very high level of knowledge to do them effectively. So they don't work in isolation. They have to be coupled with, high levels of knowledge acquisition. But if people want to kind of delve into that extra level of strategy, that's what it is.
Yeah, and just talking about Sporkle for a second, I don't know if when you finish Sporkle quizzes, it'll have clever little blurbs afterwards, and it's like, at least you tried or something like that. And one of the ones that cycles through is, I think I saw you on Jeopardy once. And I don't know if that has happened to everybody else, but that really hits different now for me. So it's like, yeah, I think you did.
So how do you guys focus on a particular topic? Because obviously Jeopardy has a wide field of questions. Like, how do you know how to focus on one topic and when to move on? When you think, right, I know enough about this, it's time to move on to a different topic. Like, how do you sort of arrange your brain to say, right, this is what I'm going to latch onto first?
I don't think you ever really get that feeling that you know everything you're going to absolutely need to know. But I like to bounce around and like take an hour and do something, and then, okay, I've got to do something else. And there's the world to go through. So if you pick, enough different topics that you keep yourself interested and motivated to keep on going for a study session, then that's really, and so like I say, YouTube, really good because you have like 15, 20 minute, this is the Greek history in 20 minutes. And it's not going to be everything you need to know, but it'll be a lot. And it's going to reinforce stuff that you already know. It's going to add some stuff, and then move on to French art. Why not? Just keep yourself moving around.
I think that's something that kind of goes underrated in Jeopardy contestant whatever, is like a lot of it is intuition and deduction. It's not necessarily like knowing an exhaustive amount about opera. It's just knowing a couple of salient bits about each opera. Okay, well, I know Bizet is French language, and that's going to be they're going to probably ask about Carmen. If it's a high probability that's going to be Carmen when they ask about a French language opera. I mean, that's I feel like a lot of the game is, it's not no one can hold, maybe Yogesh can, but like no one can hold all that information in their head, but it's about being able to eliminate other things. And then if you're 80% sure it's Carmen in your regular game, why not buzz in? I mean, it's very likely, But I mean, talking about like studying for opera or something like that, I just started with the archive, and I would look at like the opera, and if I was like, I started to feel really good about, okay, I'm hitting most of these. If I'm looking at the clues, then I can move on for now and then come back. But it's never, the nice thing about it is that you can never learn every single thing. And that's fun. I think a lot of it's also just genuinely like to learn and read about stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the most underrated skill to develop as far as the material for Jeopardy is really just a reading comprehension test, like more than anything else. There's an acronym in the quizzing world. It's RTFQ, which is read the effing question. And that is maybe the most important thing, because it's what the clue is saying and what it isn't saying. And the faster you can parse that, the better off you're going to be, and the more time you're going to have to think of the correct answer, correct response. So reading comprehension is number one.
At every level, every show, someone gives a wrong right answer, right? So that's RTFQ.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I'm curious about literally everything. You can put a piece of information in front of me, and I'm curious about, I'm curious to know about it. But after a little while, I'm done. And so I think you listen to your internal clock and level of interest, because too much is too much, and then it becomes a waste of your time, because the field is so large that if you're delving in on, let's keep taking opera as an example. If you're really delving in and you're learning about obscure operas and character names of stuff, it might be interesting, but it's past where the show is going to go. And so you're losing time on that you could be doing the 15 minutes on meteorology. So, and I just listen to my internal clock. I feel I get to the point where I say, I've had enough of this. It's not interesting to me anymore. And if the question is one question past where I stopped, oh well, what are you going to do? You can't know everything.
I listened to a podcast on an Oxford professor lecturing about Shakespeare, and I would just go and say, okay, who are the major characters? What are the famous lines in each play? The All the World's monologue is in As You Like It. It's by the Jacques, I think. So that, boom, that's all I need to know about that. And then they're Rosalind, and then they all flit around in the forest of Ardennes, and then they all get together happily ever after. That's all you really need to know about that. If like they ask a question that's a step further than that, then you're not going to know it, but at least you know most of it, and you can make an educated guess as to what they're going for there. And then you can take that piece of knowledge and you can have it inside you, and then do your Madam Web thing. I don't know why I keep bringing up Madam Web. Then you do your Madam Web thing, and you're like, okay, well, that connects to this thing, and then that may come in handy later on. So, yeah.
So the next question I'm going to ask is a dangerous one, because if you guys ever go up against each other, this is going to be a bit of ammunition. But what's your weakness?
We're done.
What's,
we can't.
Yeah. What's the one category you see coming up and go, oh no, not this one? Nick, what's the biggest fear?
I stopped watching television, fiction television, when I stopped being an actor. And the reason is that I succumbed to an occupational hazard of all actors, which is instead of watching the story, I'm watching the acting and the filmmaking and the directing, and I'm insufferable to watch a piece of fiction with, because I have completely lost my ability to suspend disbelief. So I really have not seen any fiction television since I was working in it in 2003. So that's 20 years of television that I've just checked out of. So I know about it, but I don't have the firsthand experience of liking this actor or that actor, or following through their careers like Yungsheng was mentioning. So any of that stuff that comes up, and I'm going to be behind the 8 ball on that stuff. Even though, I brushed up on it as best I could, but yeah, that's my area.
Unlike most Asian kids, I never played a musical instrument ever. So I have no musical talent, ability, or knowledge whatsoever. So anything involving like orchestra, symphony, musical instruments, I was like, ugh. And then like, I think I had a category, and I was like, oh, I was like studying up on this stuff, because one of my good friends is a professional violin player. And he's like, man, you really messed that up. I'm like, yeah, like I folded under pressure. So yeah, anything music wise, anything involving like anatomy of the human body, I'm not good at. So anything like that, I'm like, ugh, nope, stay away from that.
Yogesh, how about yourself? Bearing in mind you're still on Jeopardy at this moment,
yes.
This could be
I mean, I didn't used to at sort of regular Jeopardy level, and even at Trio C level, I wasn't really afraid of any categories. I mean, even like I certainly didn't grow up around either like fine cuisine or alcohol, so food and drink was probably the weakest one for me. But yeah, they used to have a category called potent potables. I don't know if they still call it that anymore.
They do.
It comes up occasionally.
Yeah.
Mostly they fold it into other stuff now.
Yeah. Then, but even then, I just knowing some basic facts, learning some lists, cocktails, and so on, I was okay. But yeah, at master level, my weakness has become much more apparent. It turns out I know nothing about furniture. I've never really furnished anything beyond going to IKEA. So
if it doesn't come with an Allen wrench, I'm totally lost.
Yes. Yeah. Arts and crafts stuff, furniture. Yeah, I'm just goes way over my head.
College sports. Fuck that. Nope. I mean, a good list, but yeah, I don't get it.
Sports.
I like regular sports. I love baseball. I think, but a bunch of adults who are following, I don't know, I just find the whole endeavor slightly strange.
Yeah, I gotta say I've never really gotten that exactly either, but
yeah,
that's a whole other conversation.
When my kid was in, I followed all of the Bruin stuff, and then after he graduated, all of those apps got erased.
Seconding Deb's, college sports in general. I mean, most professional sports I really don't pay any attention to. I never have it play everything. I don't watch it particularly. And so it never really sticks with me. Just following a team, following the stats, following who did the best at what position. I barely watched the football games in my high school. I played on the team.
Ooh, what position were you, Ray?
Tight end.
Ooh.
So run 5 yards, turn around, catch the ball, and get hit. Glamorous job.
So I actually got probably what was my worst nightmare category in the very first game I ever played, which was a fashion category that I just basically had to completely write off. And I think it was all women's fashion too, specifically. And it was just...
You're such a man of style.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, so fashion has turned out to... And then after I lost and started prepping for TOC, it's like I really tried to brush that up, and it just... I might as well have had like nonstick cooking spray on my brain or something, because it would just slide right back out. It was it was just not going to happen.
Well, I feel like historically, and they're working definitely to change that. But I think a lot of the questions, a lot of categories really skew a certain way on Jeopardy. And that's toward a lot of there's a lot of for every one fashion category, there are going to be like 3 sports categories or everything like that. So speaking as a non-man, I love when those categories come up, because most of the time I'm playing against 2 dudes. So I'm like, oh, give me French fashion. I know that they're not going to put the Daily Double in it because of patriarchy. Just kidding. Haha, love Jeopardy. But I'm like, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take every little chance I can get. And I love when that confers me an advantage, and it did in my first audition. So I don't know. I have to shout those categories out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I think the thing about it is having one category that you just kind of mentally write off is not fatal. Because it's like, I went on to win that game, but it's just, the having weaknesses is not necessarily fatal. It's just what you do in everything else. So yeah, I'm never going to say don't put something on Jeopardy, for sure. And I think the game is only better for it. Because it needs to evolve, especially now that people are taking so many more risks, I think, on stage, and like the strategy has gotten much deeper, that there needs to be a deeper knowledge base to draw from to kind of counterbalance that. So I completely agree with that. That said, I still hated the category when it came up just for me. But y'all can have it.
What advice would you guys give to aspiring Jeopardy contestants? If you know someone in life or online that's saying, hey, I'm thinking of applying, can I have any... Not that I'm thinking of applying. I have a brain like a sieve. Anything that goes in that isn't Star Trek just immediately evaporates. But if someone was asking that, like, hey, I'm interested in going on Jeopardy, like, what kind of advice would you give them? Start with you, Yogesh.
Well, I think a lot of what was said is already covered. So I don't want to repeat what I said before. So I'll say, I guess, one new thing, which maybe I think ties in with some of the things that the other people have been saying as well, which is that a great deal of quizzing is about intuition, and particularly about it's about perspective taking, really, being able to intuitively put yourself in the perspective of a writer, so that you can kind of, because as Jared said, there's a lot of text up there, then you have to read it quickly. And what the mind, again, I have my background in cognitive and behavioral science, so I can speak with some authority, but right, but what you're doing is top down processing, right? You're trying to look at what is most important within that information, and the more you know about generally how to write and specifically how Jeopardy writers write, the easier it is that the relevant things will pop out to you. And you'll see, oh, that turn of phrase is significant because it's an extra clue in addition to what's in there. Or, these particular words, like say, French opera, for instance, if that pops out to you, then your mind is going to go toward Carmen a split second faster than the other contestants, which gives you an advantage. So yeah, learn how Jeopardy writers think, which often involves watching the show, and also just learn how to write. Like, practice your own writing. That will sharpen your mind toward what constitutes a clue, and how is language used to sort of guide players toward a specific answer.
That's much more substantive than just hit the archive a bunch.
I will say, practically speaking, like the audition process, you want to have like kind of a fun, quirky anecdote. I was like, on my Zoom audition, everyone was like, I want to go and travel the world, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, everyone says that, right? And I was like, they're like, oh, what do you want to do with the money? And I was like, well, I want to disappoint my parents even further by getting more tattoos. I want to be like really banned from like a Japanese onsen. Like, I want them to like look at me and be like, you can't come in here. And then they love that. And I guess that like that I was like kind of memorable, and then like they like called me kind of soon afterwards. So just think of like funny, like tragic incidents in your life and just use that as the anecdote. And then Yogesh is right, like anything in quotations in the clue is going to be important, so you really just want to focus on just reading comprehension, reading things like a split second faster than someone else, and just having a general idea of what an answer is. Even if you don't have the answer, like your strategy can be just to buzz in and then figure out in the 5 seconds you have to answer the question. I can't play that way because I would die, but other people play that way and they do fine.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate the first part of what he said. Like, the skills of auditioning are not they're not the ones of playing on the show. And we talked a lot about the skills of playing on the show, but if you want to get on the show, you'd better have the skill of auditioning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I said in my Zoom audition that I was going to spend the prize money on scotch and guitars. So that was, they liked that one. And I think what they're looking for, as much as I could understand it from our side of the audition process, is they're looking for people that can be mostly themselves in spite of the insanity of the situation that you're trying to put yourself in. So it's like, if you can project that this is okay and normal for you, even though it isn't for anybody that is a part of it, that is going to read well to the people that are judging you, basically.
It's I think a huge misconception that in the audition they care if you come across as smart or knowledgeable. They give you a written test. If you pass the threshold on the test, they have decided you are smart and knowledgeable enough. It is at that point, it's no more to your advantage to come off as, super knowledgeable, nerdy, etc., etc. You want to come across as someone who America wants in their living room, enthusiastic, high energy, jovial, raconteur, all those kind of things.
Oh no, yeah, look, that's when like the Wheel of Fortune audition part comes into it. So like they want like those enthusiastic kind of people. And this is maybe insider baseball, but I think people in LA get a leg up because like I was called to be an alternate, and they're like, "Oh, you're local. We need you to fill in case somebody else like drops off or gets sick or something like that." And then you're guaranteed to go on the next week. So if you're local to Los Angeles, I think you might have an inside.
Move to Los Angeles.
Yeah, move to Los Angeles. You might get on the show. And
the first thing I would say is try out. I mean, a lot of people stop themselves at the step before even taking the test. I know I did that for a very long time, and anybody who is even thinking that it might be an experience that they want to have should absolutely 100% stop thinking and just take the test, because at that level there's nothing to lose. And then, I mean, these folks are right. Once you are brought into the contestant coordinators, it is an audition for the role of contestant. And that means being an interesting player. I guarantee you, the smartest guy in my audition set did not get on the show and has not been on the show because he was a stick. And so it's more than knowing your stuff. It's being able to be relaxed and be interesting. And what was said before, it's just being yourself. They want people who can comfortably be themselves. You've already passed the test. We know you know a lot of stuff. Are you interesting on camera?
Yeah,
And
I
will
think
you not like freeze up
Yeah.
when the lights are on?
what I was gonna say is, I mean, normally I would snort whenever people are like, "Oh, have fun when you're doing it," but like that's what people want to see. I mean, that's what's compelling about watching a lot of folks, is that they're really genuinely enjoying themselves. And I think a lot of people who have like little like Nick backgrounds in acting, like being on stage, I mean, I feel like that's a good part of it, is just like not having nerves, actually enjoying yourself, actually enjoying the game. I mean, you can pitch it up so that you're like a professional athlete with all these strategies and whatever, but also at some point you have to relax and be able to like relax into the flow, and just like, wow, but yeah.
Well, and I think that's important for the gameplay too. It's like if you're not going to relax into the flow of the game is going to leave you.
Yeah.
And
I think also, I mean, it's kind of hard to, maybe before you're a contestant, but I feel like the Jeopardy contestant community is like not only just like a group of wonderful people, but also just like talk about resources. I mean, I didn't know about people playing mock games until after I was a contestant the first time, I mean, and if anyone has, interest in really being on the show and really doing well, it's good to, get on that level quickly.
I'm seeing more and more of that now. People that are actually coming on the show that are talking about having been in the quizzing community for years and having practiced online with people that have been on the show before. And that's, if I was to give anybody advice, also, it's like kind of more what Deb was doing with when you're up there, you're wired for sound. And, that's not every day. And you're not used to that. And functioning on that level, when you're up there standing and shaking like a leaf inside, if not outside, that's a skill that you could also work on, like take an improv class, take a public speaking course, do something that puts you in your discomfort zone and gets you used to being there. Because I guarantee you, when you're up there, that's, you're on fire and you're trying to play a game and have fun, but in that state, and you're going to miss a few things because, you just can't calm your brain down, and nobody can, but, you can get used to it a little bit, and then it'll make you that much better, that much more relaxed, and that much sharper when you're actually reading the clues. You won't skip over everything because you're too excited.
Yeah, you're right, Deb. That was a huge benefit for me. Just the idea of having been on a set before, having been on a camera before, understanding what a 3-camera show was like, and what the director was all about, and what the stage manager was all about, and when technical issues come up, and just, never occurred to me that millions of people were watching. Is just being in the moment and being able to and have that in the audition, because again, we're not in a lot position a lot of times to have people sitting in front of us directly judging who we are as a person. It's a very unnatural experience. And so that being able to get past that and just be in the moment and be who you are as a person, that's good advice for anybody who has already decided they want to go on and is trying to get past that bar. That's a tough bar to get past. I mean, people took 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? That's a tough bar. That's probably the hardest bar, more so than getting the information.
Yeah. And I remember Ken asked if we were, me and my wild card, like finalists. He asked if we were theater kids in high school, which at the time, you're like, oh, you think I'm a theater kid? But, at the same time, like, well, A, he was right, and B, like, oh.
Nick, you have actually been a guest star on Star Trek. You played Ensign Davies in the TNG Season 2 episode Pen Pals, and then also as Tamor in the DS9 Season 3 episode Equilibrium. What were your memories of that experience?
I was such a fan of the original series that when I first got the call just to audition for Next Generation, I had to go through that whole thing of, oh my God, okay, I got to get rid of nerves. I got to get rid of how big this experience is. all of that stuff has to go aside so that I can do my work and really just get this character and get on that set. And I was, it's one of my favorite acting experience memories, being able to get on there and just to get backstage and to see the set of the bridge and to see all of what was there in life, in real life, and then to have that on the resume and be part of that world and to be in Memory Alpha. And I mean, it's just like, I keep geeking out, it was 30 years ago. I'm still geek out over it. It was such a pleasure. The people were wonderful. The experience was great. I was just so happy to be involved, Amazing.
So you and Michael Dorn out drinking every weekend then,
No, so the only cast members I worked with on Next Generation, I worked closely with Wesley. I had several scenes with him. And then I think one, maybe two scenes with Jonathan Frakes and Sir Patrick. But I was on, now in the second season, nobody knew if this thing was going to go or not. It did not have a very successful first season. And early in the second season, they weren't sure that this was going to have legs. So everybody was, Jonathan hadn't grown his beard yet, even.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's the inspiration for the TV tropes, growing the beard.
Yeah.
They were still wearing their one-piece jumpsuits, which everyone hated, male and female alike, for I think it would be obvious reasons if you thought about that. And so they were still kind of feeling their way. They were feeling their way into it. And it really was a dream experience. I mean, I did a lot of shows and I worked with a lot of famous people, but that one really meant something to me, to be part of that legacy. It was really fun.
So here's a kind of off the wall question follow-up, because obviously our whole Jeopardy experience was impacted by a writer's strike. And pretty famously in season 2 of TNG, there was a writer's strike that cut off the end of that season. Was there anything that you were aware of while you were there that was impacted by it, or had that not really come through?
It hadn't happened yet. So this was episode 2. And so
so it's still
the episode took weeks, I think 2 weeks to shoot. So the end of the season writer's strike, I think I remember that writer's strike at the end of 87, I guess it was. I may be wrong about the year. The scripts that you're shooting were written months ago. So yeah, it wasn't really impacting the shooting schedule when I was on it. But it did impact. I mean, I remember it happening later that year and things drying up, and I was auditioning for commercials all of a sudden, which I had never done before because nothing else was happening in town. Very much like the last one. Yeah.
So you were faithful SAG-AFTRA through the last one as well, despite the retirement.
I support my unions. They're going to pay me my pension in a couple of years, and so I can keep my relationship good with my union. I'm inactive now, but yes, very much so. Deep Space Nine was an interesting experience, because they had already been going for a couple of years, right? And everything, and we already knew that people wanted more Trek, and so by the time I got onto that set, that was an engine that was firing all cylinders and was in the middle of a long stretch of success, and so the whole feel was different. And then of course it was a whole different cast of people, and my character was quite I wanted to play that person as neuroatypical, and so they kind of went with it. They kind of pared me back a little bit, which my original concept for that character went a lot further. But you got to work with what they want. That's for television.
I know. I didn't know you were on Deep Space Nine too.
Yes. So the episode is Dax is having trouble with her symbiont, and so they got to go back to the home world, and they wind up in the Trill caves. So she's got, and so I was the Trill Wrangler.
Cool.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, he was the guy by the pool, right?
The guy by the pool, the symbiont wrangler. Yeah, and they were asking
pool boy.
So my idea for that guy was he lives in the caves his whole life. He doesn't really. The people don't come to see him. He's down there with the symbionts and his monitoring equipment, and that's all the human contact that he's got. And so when they come down and start asking him questions, his responses were not what you would expect out of a, you know, normal somebody who has a lot of human contact or sentient contact, let's say. I took it a lot further in my audition, and that's what they hired. And then when I got on the set, it was like, let's not. I still managed to get where I wanted to go with it.
It's interesting because for those who haven't seen it, the later series of Star Trek Discovery have been doing more stuff with the Trill pools, and it's interesting to think that the characterization of the Trill Guardians there probably inspired somewhat by Timur, by your character. So you've probably
why haven't they called me? Do they not have my phone number? What the hell?
They are set about 1,000 years in the future, so.
Oh, I cut off my landline and I stopped getting phone calls.
Ray, you are a set designer, also someone in the entertainment world.
Well, let me correct you for just a second. First, a scenic artist.
A scenic artist. Sorry, yes.
Know what that is.
No,
okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
I work for set designer.
Being a scenic artist on some incredible productions, including The Expanse and upcoming things. How did you get into that field? How did you get into that kind of work?
Well, I started off doing renovations after doing some other things in my life, and then I had some people that working for me that ended up working for a commercial company, and it was sort of a weekend thing. They were doing a Ferrero Rocher commercial, and they had to make a European ballroom. They had about 3 days left to do it. It was marble and gilding, and this fabulous thing, like a movie set. And called me up because he knew I did some of this sort of decorative artwork, and so basically, want to come in here, make a lot of money, have a lot of fun, and stretch your skills, sort of thing. And I came in, did that. They liked me, I liked the work, and so I got into commercials, from there to TV, from TV into movies, and then so.
Awesome. So you've worked on The Expanse. Expanse is one of my favorite series. Like I love that show. Like the designs of like the interior of the ships in that, and like the offices and things like that, absolutely stunning. But you are now. Designer. Sorry.
Lovely design, very good man. Very smart use of materials. Just sort of the background things. Modular design, like you would think. They were very hard science fiction there. I know it's, they made up a lot of stuff, but they did try and keep it within a world that you could, kind of believe in. That was sort of a mod, as opposed to, the more futuristic things in Star Trek. They kind of wave their hands a lot about stuff, technology. Expanse, they were very much, this is a physical thing. What happens in the real world when you just stop a spaceship, that sort of.
So you're also now I don't know now. I don't know if filming is finished, but currently working on the Section 31 TV movie that's will be hopefully coming out this year. No official release yet, I don't believe.
Coming out this year. Was working on it. It has finished filming.
It has finished. Okay.
We moved right on to Starfleet Academy.
Oh.
Which we're building that now.
Oh wow.
NDA, lots of stuff I can't talk about.
No.
But we are building basically the largest ever set for a Star Trek movie. It's going to be Starfleet Academy, the building itself. We're in the process of making that right now.
That's
and
fantastic.
I'm right in the middle of it. Yeah, so
You heard it here first.
you heard it here first. And it's they're very much investing in this series. They've got options to renew everybody for about 5 years, as far as the stages and all the actors. They really believe in the project. They're throwing a ton of money at this to make it the best they can do it, and so pretty exciting to work on. Getting to work with a bunch of top-notch materials and people just the top of their craft, and so it's exciting.
So going from being an original series, a Kirk fan, from watching that to actually going in when they first said, "Hey, can you come and work on Star Trek?" How did you feel about that?
It is fun. I mean, my kids, my friends, everybody's like, "You're working on Star Trek," and it's my job. It's what I do anyway, but. There is a certain level of buzz about it. Just you get to go out and tell people, I'm working on a Star Trek thing. I've got little things at home, little props that I can point to, and they're little souvenirs of everything I've done, sort of thing. But and Nicholas was talking about this sort of, you see all the nuts and bolts in TV, and I watch the things I see. That's a terrible brick wall. That's, I don't believe that's special effect. That's a piece of styrofoam, But it's still, even if you see the plywood behind the set, it's still exciting to be there. And so you walk in the middle of it, and you can really lose yourself in that world. And certainly Section 31, the spaceships on that were gorgeous. And just, being in the middle of it, you stand in the middle and you can just imagine that that's where you are. So that's kind of cool. And of course, space, I mean, it all happens in studio because you can't shoot in space. So we build everything, right? You can't go to somebody's house and start shooting a space show. So there's a lot of building, a lot of environments we do, even the outside environments. We'll build a lot of it in on stages, sound stages, and in fake the backgrounds. So yeah, it's exciting. It's fun work.
No, it sounds
Great. I'm gonna be an interviewer for a second. So you made a distinction between set design and scenic artist. Can you explain what the differences are and what is?
Yeah, we have an art department that's headed by a set designer called production designer, and what they'll do is they'll be in charge of all the drawings, all the renderings. They come to somebody like me and they go, okay, this is what I want this to look like. And it's kind of like Master Chef Kitchen. You've got these materials. How can you give me this? What's the budget? How fast can I get it? I've got 2 weeks to get, this set up in this stage. Here's the money. Here's your materials. What can you show me? How's it going to look? And we'll go surface by surface, image by image. We'll go through everything. This is what I can do for this piece of plywood to make it look like steel. Blah blah blah. Yeah, so you solve problems, and then you organize, and you just try and manufacture. And because spaceships very much modular, which is a great thing for us, because you make piece by piece by piece. And you solve the problems one other shot like that. And then you get to see it all go up, and it's very satisfying to walk in at the end of the day and go, wow, I saw the little pieces, and now it's all put together. Look at
neat.
Do you ever stand behind one of the consoles and go boop 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 boop? I know I would. Like, that'd be the first thing I'd do.
Yes. Yes. We have people in the mold shop making the weapons, and
Yes.
we're a bunch of kids.
Fantastic.
All the time. Yeah.
I need to change careers.
You guys make it so magic for when we walk onto the set for the first time, because it's so easy to work when everything is right.
Yeah.
When everything looks right, feels right, props feel right, costume looks right, it just makes it makes it easy. There's no work involved. You can completely enter into the make-believe. It's wonderful.
And the most satisfying moment for us is when the thing's up and the production walks in, all the staff walk in, the talent walk in, and they look at the set. You see smiles on their faces. They'll go, wow, we have to work in this.
Oh yeah.
That's where we're there.
Good stuff.
So, crossing the stream somewhat now. So both Jeopardy and Star Trek have very avid fan bases. This is something I discovered when I was following Jared, because again, I'd not been part of the Jeopardy community. I sort of delved in, went and read it, and followed like the community there. Like, so both Star Trek and Jeopardy have these avid fan bases. Like, how does it feel now to sort of be, for those of you that are the Star Trek fans, how does it feel to kind of be part of both of those communities? So be part of the Star Trek community and also the Jeopardy community as well.
I as someone who has appeared in the shows, I get to go to conventions to sign autographs, take photographs, and we're almost out of time on this part of it. Should we reconnect, or we need to let it run out?
Get a minute.
Yeah,
Got a minute.
Well, I'll just say let's just cut it now and come back, and then just
spin the minute out, because it might kind of come in as a 30 seconds or.
Oh, okay.
Because I think as the host I have to carry on. Hang on.
I've had the opportunity to be with the fandom, as someone that they're coming to connect with, who's been on the set, and it's I have to say, Trek fans are just the sweetest, loveliest, most forthcoming. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. Not a bad apple in the bunch. Then I've been to a number of cons now. What draws people to Star Trek is the vision of a future as a place where everything that can think and feel is appreciated and considered, equal and equivalent. And so they're coming with that as part of their soul, that future, wanting to make that future come. And so they're that way. And they're wonderful to be around, and I appreciate being part of that, and then as in the Jeopardy community, there's a Venn diagram overlap. There are people who respect knowledge, who respect expertise, who respect what our society has become in terms of the opportunities that people who are thinking and knowledgeable can bring to the society. There's a huge overlap there, and it's neat to be in that little middle of that Venn diagram. It's a cool thing.
Well, I can't say much for being in the receiving, although I guess it would be interesting now, if you're going to conventions in the future, how many people will talk to you about Star Trek and how many might talk to you about Jeopardy now.
Yeah.
It'd just be another little wrinkle in the biography.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's like I want to phrase this kind of carefully because we've had some very different experiences with the Jeopardy fandom community. Some positive and some negative for sure. But I will say that the part of the fandom that I really appreciate and is the thing that I'm taking away from this more than anybody is the community of Jeopardy contestants. And that I have found every last one of them to be very welcoming and just celebrating knowledge and just being able to be a part of this is much more valuable to me than winning prize money on a game show, because I think I've made some friends that I hope are lifelong friends, and it's almost kind of it's a bond that you don't even know that you're in until you're there on set with other people, and because you're in your own head about, oh, how am I going to do on this? I'm probably going to lose in the first game, whatever. And then you go through the experience, and then you've got this thing that you can share with these other crazy smart people for the rest of your lives. And you can always come back to it. You can always touch back on it. It's like, you can talk about, Mitch, the audio guy, and the makeup people, and, just all these common touchstones that we've had from having these common experiences on the Jeopardy set. So that part of the fandom, I absolutely love and will treasure forever.
I think for me, what really does it, and I think Nick kind of touched on this. For me, Star Trek is very much about hope, and the hope that for the human race or whatever. Section 31 stuff notwithstanding, and certain complications of the canon notwithstanding, because I say this as a fan of DS9, but I also like what really gets me in my soul about the show is the kind of TOS, exploration. The kind of purest sense of that is that humanity as a I hate saying race, but as a collective. Will transcend perhaps the profit motive, other kind of ickier, more sordid things about how we live now in favor of kind of a pursuit that is more meaningful, and we'll devote our lives to something that is more meaningful than money or than profit, or however you want to put that. Then you have the Ferengis, which are a great foil because that's what their lives are. And I think there is that kind of Venn diagram between that kind of ethos and a lot of what Jeopardy means to people, because there is there's the idea of the lovely meritocratic element of Jeopardy that is like, well, if you're smart and you try hard enough, you could do well on the show. But there's also, even aside from that, and obviously it's also a TV show, and it's also a TV show that has sponsors and all that stuff. But what it means to people, or at least what it meant to me, is that it's like, there's a genuine, you have to have some kind of love of learning. Even aside from knowledge or intelligence, it's really about liking to learn. It's liking the pursuit of these things. I mean, none of us, there's no like 0 degree of percentage. Even I say I don't like college sports, I still like to learn. I still like to know stuff. I still like to be like, oh yes, the Blue Devils, So that for me is a kind of little bit of that utopian thing of, understanding and relating to people more, because you want to learn and you want to, be more a citizen of the world, because you know about things, and it's nice to be pushed to learn about things that are outside of our little bubbles. And I think that Jeopardy at its best does do that. I mean, that being said, Star Trek has a kind of, there are elements of it that are very canonical, and they're from a certain point of view. Jeopardy has that too. And, but I mean, in my opinion, at their nice purist ethos, there's the potential for.
Thank you very much, guys. Before I hand you over to Jared for a little bit of a quiz, a little bit of a fun activity for you all, I would just like to say thank you very much for joining us here, and thank you for helping us support the World Central Kitchen. It's been absolutely fantastic, and thank you very much for coming on and doing this with us. It's been a pleasure of mine to meet you all. You're all a fantastic bunch of people, and so I will hand you over to Jared Watson's Jeopardy as he takes you through the ringer. So please go ahead.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm really hoping this is a game where I can beat Yogesh. This would feel good. if any kind of fix, this would be it.
I think this is going to be kind of a, whose line is it anyway thing. The game's made up and the points don't matter.
Right.
But I will say, if you get your question, then that's a point. And if you miss your question, then it's going to go to the next person in line until someone gets it. And then I'll go back to the next person. So, Yogesh, of these 4 stars, which are actual stars that have all been mentioned in at least once in a Star Trek episode, which is the closest, on average, to our solar system? So these are just 4 stars that have been named in a Star Trek episode at least once. Antares, Deneb, Rigel, and Vega, which is the closest to our solar system.
Okay, so I mean, at least it's not a deep Star Trek cut, so and multiple choice. So
a lot of these are going to be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style multiple choice.
Yeah, so I don't have any of those excuses for getting it wrong. I'm just going to have to admit I don't really know, other than a couple of them, how far away stars are. So that's why I'm going to get it wrong. But I have a 25% shot, so I should guess. I'll guess Vega.
And you would guess correctly. Yeah, Vega is actually quite a bit closer than these other stars. It averages about 25 light years from our solar system. Antares is 550 light years, Rigel is 860, and Deneb, it's so far away that there is conflicting information on how far away it is. It could be anywhere from 1550 to 2620 light years away. So it's way far away.
Depends who you
I was
ask.
originally going to say which one was furthest, but that just seemed insane, so I flipped it around. Okay, so next up we have Yungsheng. What was the name given to a theorized but never verifiably observed planet that some pre-20th century astronomers thought existed in an orbit between Mercury and the Sun?
Oh man, I am not doing well on these podcasts.
I will say that all of the responses have a tie to Star Trek in one way or another.
Okay, so it's like a Romulus.
Is that your
That's my final answer.
Okay, it is not Romulus. So then we go to Deb.
I'm gonna guess Vulcan.
Yes.
Vulcan is the correct. Yeah, Vulcan is the correct answer. And it was, I think, finally put to bed by the scientific community with Einstein's theory of general relativity, because they thought that planet had to exist to explain the eccentricities in Mercury's orbit. But okay, so Deb, the next question is yours. Lieutenant Reginald Barclay, after his time on Star Trek The Next Generation, was instrumental in Starfleet reestablishing contact with the USS Voyager after it became lost in the Delta Quadrant. In fact, Barclay named his pet cat after a member of Voyager's crew. What was that name?
You know, I was just watching these recently. So my boyfriend just watched Voyager. He finally got through it. And I want, oh God, it's killing me. The first thing I'm thinking of is Neelix. And yeah, I'm gonna go Neelix. I'm not really sure though. But
well, think long, think wrong. You got it right. It's Neelix. Okay, and who did I say was next? Is Nick? So yeah, Deb has 2 points now. Jonathan Frakes, who you worked with on Star Trek The Next Generation. Before playing Commander William T. Riker on Star Trek The Next Generation, was a frequent guest star on other popular television shows. Which of these 4 shows did Jonathan Frakes not appear in?
Hang on, let me get Wikipedia up.
So yeah, this is the IMDb question. So which of these 4 did Jonathan Frakes never guest star in?
Didn't get guest star on, okay.
Did not. So your choices are Magnum PI, Fantasy Island, The Dukes of Hazzard, or The Waltons.
I don't know, but I'm going to guess The Waltons just on the timeline, that it's an earlier show than the other 3.
The Waltons is not correct. He actually played the character of Ashley Longworth Jr. on The Waltons.
Must have been a kid. Must have been small.
So we'll go to Ray.
Ooh. Well, if The Waltons is wrong, I'm just going to go and question structure and go, the other country show won't be the right answer. So I'm going to say Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard is also incorrect. He was the character of Jamie Lee Hogg on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, you played a hog?
Yeah. And so we're going to go back, go to Yogesh now. Magnum PI or Fantasy Island?
All right, now it's 50%, even better odds than last time. So really no excuse for missing it. Okay. Yeah, to see, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes of either of those shows in my life, so I can't go on that. I will say, I think they both shot probably on exotic locations, so that doesn't narrow it down either. I'll say he was never on Magnum PI.
He was never on Magnum PI. You're correct.
Okay.
He played the character of Kirk Wendover on Fantasy Island. One of the most enduring catchphrases from Star Trek is Dr. Leonard McCoy exclaiming, "I'm a doctor, not some other occupation."
Yes.
All but one of these occupations were used in iterations of the phrase during the show's run. Which was not?
Scenic artist.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I'm a doctor, not a psychiatrist. I'm a doctor, not a dentist. I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. Or I'm a doctor, not an escalator.
Ooh. That last one was kind of odd. I knew bricklayer for sure. Dentist, I'm pretty sure too. Psychiatrist, it's kind of illogical. At the same time, it's the sort of thing you would complain about. Escalator sounds like a brand name and an anachronism in space. So I'm going to say escalator.
He actually did say, "I'm a doctor, not an escalator."
Boom.
In what context did that come?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I should have the memory alpha pulled up, but I don't. But while I'm doing that,
I'll get you.
Yeah. Okay. Yogesh.
Oh,
Goes to
again.
Yes.
I have heard I have heard the bricklayer thing, even through cultural osmosis. I've heard it. So I guess I mean psychiatrist by definition is a doctor, as our fellow TOC contestant Javeri would yearly remind us, I'm sure. So I'll say psychiatrist.
He did also say, "I'm a doctor, not a psychiatrist." So he needed better definition of his terminology, but he did say it on the show. So, Yungsheng, it goes to you. Your choices are dentist or bricklayer.
Everyone's saying bricklayer was actually one that was said. It must be dentist. But are they tricking me?
Playing the long game.
My games.
I know. Ooh. It's like a usual suspect situation. I guess I'll go with dentist, even though it doesn't make any sense, because as a doctor, he'd be able to fix teeth as well. But I'll say dentist.
He never said, "I'm a doctor, not a dentist," on Star Trek. You're correct.
Well done.
The escalator bit was he was helping people down a rocky ledge in Friday's Child, and he said, "I'm a doctor, not an escalator," because they were going down.
All right.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
That's fun stuff right there.
That's that good stuff.
I think
That's McCoy. That's McCoy for you.
I think that's the Mogatu episode where thingy can what was his name? Leonard McCoy's actor. Oh God!
Oh,
DeForest
DeForest Kelly.
DeForest Kelly. Thank you. Oh my God! The worst
You wrote a
group of
podcast?
people to forget that in front of. Jesus.
Who is?
Ah. He couldn't
Named
actually
after early
remember.
like
television
the-
pioneer Lita
Just like
Ford.
the internet, if you want information, just say
Get it
something
wrong, yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, he couldn't pronounce the name of the Mogatu. He called it different things. It's like Gamatu, Mogatu, Malatu, or things like that. So yeah.
Well, kind of like how early on they would call them Klingons instead of Klingons.
It's a Kling.
here and there.
Volcanians.
Yeah.
Volcanians.
Volcanians,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so we're back at Yogesh now. And we'll do one more round through, and then we'll have a final question.
Would you like to know the current scores?
Yeah. Where are we at right now?
So Yogesh is currently on 2, Deb currently on 2, and Young on 1.
Yogesh. This one I thought was pretty fun. The 1968 album, The Two Sides of Leonard Nimoy, is today best known for the legendary tune, The Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. Which of these is not a song title from that same album? Spock Thoughts, Mind Meld, Cotton Candy, or Amphibious Assault?
I'm more of a partisan of William Shatner's musical career.
Oh, we'll get to him. We'll get
Okay.
to
Fair enough. Yeah, I've heard the Bilbo Baggins one, but the other I'm basically just guessing and trying to go second level and be like, would something as rotten as something as random as cotton candy be included as a distractor, or because it's real and sounds implausible? Not sure whether you're kind of hiding the obvious, or picking an obvious one as a wrong one, like Spock Thoughts or Mind Meld, or a random one that sounds wrong but actually is wrong because it's a double bluff, like Amphibious Assault or Cotton Candy.
Yeah, but do I know that you know that I know that you know?
Yes.
Here.
All right. It's just basically all
Right.
poker. Yeah, it's basically all poker at this point. Oh, okay. I'll try Mind Meld.
Mind Meld is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spock Thoughts, Cotton Candy, and Amphibious Assault, oddly enough, are all songs on that album.
Song
Yeah.
Song is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah. So the concept behind the album was two sides of Leonard Nimoy. Side one was the Spock side, and side two was the Leonard Nimoy side. The Cotton Candy and Amphibious Assault.
Which one is amphibiously
I'm gonna
assaulting?
go listen
is
to
what
that
I
later.
wanna
That's crazy.
No, don't trust me.
Okay.
I have read both of his memoirs, by the way. I am not Spock, and I am Spock.
This is for Yungsheng. One of William Shatner's most famous performances outside of Star Trek was his spoken word version of Elton John's Rocket Man, which he performed at the 5th Saturn Awards in 1978. What is less well known is that Shatner was there to promote a film in which he starred as veterinarian Robert Rack Hansen. The film was nominated for Best Horror Film, though it did not win. What was the name of this film?
Oh, that's it. What was the character's name again? Dr.
Robert Rack Hansen.
Robert Rack Hansen, 1978?
And the film came out in 1977, but the award...
Okay, 77. It's just... Okay, so it must be kind of a well-known one if you're just asking an open-ended question. Did Carrie come out that year? Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I'll tell you what, I actually made a quick on-the-fly edit. The last sentence was actually originally, what was the name of this creepy crawly film?
Oh, okay. Creepy crawly film. Oh, is it that could it be that ant movie? Oh, wait. What's that? The giant rabbit movie? Is it Night of the Were-Rabbit or Them? I remember seeing that. I'm like, why are these giant rabbits like running around? I'm gonna try to go for that giant rabbit movie. Was it Night of the Were? Wait, rabbits aren't creepy crawly though. They're very cute. I'm gonna say that ant movie.
The ant movie?
Them? Was them or they?
Them was about ants.
Them.
Yes. It was a 1950s movie, but it was about ants.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
Okay, it was not them or they, but it is now Deb.
No clue. I'll guess the Were-Rabbit movie. Although I thought that was like a Wallace and Gromit thing. But
I
mean,
Yeah.
he's mixing up two movies in his head.
Okay,
Yeah,
it is not Curse of the Were-Rabbit. So we will go to Nick.
I think you're thinking of Night of the Lepus, but I don't think.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think he was in that. I think that's before 77. 77. What is the creepy crawly movie?
You were probably in it.
Before then, yeah, probably. 77.
Jonathan Frakes was in it, definitely.
Yeah.
I was I'm just gonna guess. I think this is too late, but I'm gonna guess Screamers.
It was also not Screamers.
Oh shucks.
And so we go to Ray.
Creepy and crawly in 1977. I'm just going to guess there was a movie about rats called Willard. And
Willard.
I think that's where I'm going to go with this. I know there's another one about frogs, but he wasn't in that. It's somebody else. So I'm going to go with Willard.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
It is not Willard. So we go back to Yogesh.
Okay, my first thought actually was Night of the Lepus, but then when Jared added the creepy crawly, I was like, that doesn't fit. So that it feels like it's going to be a movie that sort of like either was a direct remake or a ripoff of that famous 50s movie about ants, the naked yes. No, I was thinking of The Naked Jungle. That's not it because that's earlier, but it's something along the same lines. And there's a movie called either Kingdom of the Ants or Empire of the Ants that came out in the 70s. That was along those lines. And I don't remember what the title was exactly, but I will flip my mental coin and say Empire of the Ants.
Oh, I think, you were thinking along the right lines, but this is actually one of my favorite awesomely bad movies of all time.
I gotta see this one. This sounds good.
It's well, yeah, because it's peak Shatner too. It's a movie called Kingdom of the Spiders.
Oh,
and that's
well, that's a movie I will never see.
Oh, no. Well, and actually, there's some lore behind it too, in that they used lots and lots of live spiders, and the handling of the spiders in the movie was very questionable, and it is something that led to a lot more protections of using live animals in movie and television sets, because but also Shatner just like hams it up. It's like there's several scenes of him on horseback. He's like a horseback veterinarian, and it's just,
Shatner writes.
It's
he wrote this film, didn't he?
No, but
it all goes
also,
back to Madam Web.
Spiders all the way down. I'm on Deb. Which of these actresses was not a guest star on Star Trek: The Next Generation? Delta Burke, Ashley Judd, Terry Hatcher, or BB Newirth?
The first one. What was her name? Can you say it one more time?
Delta Burke.
Oh, wait. Okay. So Delta Burke, BB Newirth, Ashley Judd, and what was the other one?
Terry Hatcher.
Terry Hatcher. I'm going to overthink it because I'm going to start thinking of Deep Space Nine people. Delta Burke, Terry Hatcher, BB Newirth, Ashley Judd. Yeah, I'm going to say Delta Burke.
Yep, that is absolutely correct.
Nice.
It was Delta Burke.
BB Newirth, I think, has to be one of my favorite. I also grew up on Frasier, which I think accounts for too much of my personality, but she has one of the best guest appearances, I think, on Trek.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The original First Contact.
Yeah.
Okay. This is one I had to put in here. I hope it doesn't play too hard. But anyway.
Oh God.
It's a music question.
Okay.
So, also called the Happy Third, what is the name, reminiscent of a certain Starfleet captain, of a tonic major chord at the end of a musical section that is in a minor key?
Thank you, Jared. Your check is in the mail. It's the Picardy Third.
Awesome. Yeah. I didn't even need to finish the question. Yes.
What's the origin of that or whatever?
So it's kind of in dispute, actually, because it's either the region of France, or it's from a French word, like an old French term. Instead of deriving from the Picardy region of France, it comes from the old French word picart, meaning pointed or sharp, and thus refers to the musical sharp that transforms the minor third of the chord into a major third. The more you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are we on now? We're on Ray. So
Yep.
This is the last of the questions until the final. Before current champion Joey Chestnut, who is the last male competitor to win the Nathan's Famous International Hot Dog Eating Contest in consecutive years. A contract dispute in 2010 may have left him feeling like he was in a no-win scenario.
Well, if it's a no-win situation, I'm just going to go out on the limb and say Kobayashi. Final answer.
Yes, it is Takeru Kobayashi.
Well, at the end of that round, Ray, Nick, and Young, you both have, all three of you have 1 point each, but Deb and Yogesh tied with 3. So everything to play for.
I'd like everyone to look at my shirt in the meantime.
Oh my gosh, that
Oh,
is amazing!
yes.
Wow. Okay.
Darmok and Eladrill. When I talk to my clients a lot, I feel like I'm in that episode. I'm like, I need to be able to communicate with you in a way where you understand me, and I'm not talking in legal gibberish.
Soketh, his eyes uncovered.
Shaka.
The wolves. So the way this last question is going to work is you're going to write down your guess, and it's going to be a number, and whoever's number is closest to the correct number will have 3 points and consequently the game.
Ooh, okay.
Is this Price is Right rules?
No, you can go over. It's whoever's closest.
Closest. Absolute value.
Yes. How many times did Patrick Stewart say the phrase, "Make it so," during the run of Star Trek The Next Generation? And just to clarify, it is not anybody else, and it's also not the tiny rascals version of Picard either. It's the actor Patrick Stewart. How many times did he say, "Make it so," during the run of Star Trek The Next Generation? All right. Does everybody have an answer? Or are we still?
Yeah, it's written down.
Looks like Nick.
Okay. Okay. So I think we will start. We will start with Ray. What was your guess?
I went big because I think you said it just about every damn week. So I went with 80.
80.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, Nick.
I went
What's
even
your guess?
bigger. Where is it? Uh-oh.
Where is it?
The background is not.
It's lost to the Northern Lights.
Put your hand. Put your hand.
There you go.
150.
All right, 150. All right. And Young.
I think there was like 6 seasons, and I'm saying 24 episodes, maybe like twice in an episode. So I went really big too. I went with
289.
289.
All right. And Deb.
I didn't expect to be the low ball here, but I only put. Can you see that? Whoa, where is my
Nice.
stuff? I have no idea where my thing is. Okay, I only put 25.
There you go.
25. Okay. And
Price is
Yogesh.
right, Razor.
Yeah, as a non-viewer, wasn't sure. I thought it might be one of those like elementary My Dear Watson things where it's more in the meme than the actual show.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe, I don't know, 5 times a season, 7 seasons, so I went with 35. No idea if that's legible, but
35.
yes.
So I feel-
Well, this would be the point in The Price is Right where they would be dinging the bell because someone got it exactly right.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Suspicious.
Yeah. But it is the contestant who said 80. Congratulations,
Whoa.
Ray
Wow.
Lalonde.
Wow.
You can
Oh,
take
right.
that to the you can take that to the set next week and go, hey, guess what I won?
Guess what I won? Guess who I beat?
Yeah.
Yes.
It finally happened.
It happened.
Nice. Wow.
All in good fun, and I think that actually went better than I was expecting it to. So I really appreciate all of you participating in my nonsense.
That's a delight, Jared.
No,
fun.
It's fun, yeah.
Thank you.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you all. I mean, I don't want to speak for the actual host, but I think
Oh no,
you
we need
you
content.
all have an open invitation to come on
No,
anytime, and we talk all kinds of Star Trek all the time. And you haven't even met some of our other fantastic hosts. Like I could not wait for the Stars and Garters experience.
Oh, it's
with some of you.
He's knowledgeable. Like he's got a brain on him for someone so young as well. It's crazy. But no, thank you all for coming. I mean, yeah, definitely we do some wild things with, like, you know, one of the things we're going to be doing soon is tiering the romances in Star Trek and discussing each one of them just to like. But yeah, that's something Auto set up is like, yeah, let's just do the obscure, the random stuff. But yeah, no, you're all welcome on if you ever want to come on, shoot us a line or something like that, and we'll do some fun things. But no, thank you so much for coming on this. It's absolutely brilliant to speak to you all and brilliant to talk to you all about Jeopardy, which has a British version now, which I need to look up and check out. Yeah, hosted by none other than Stephen Fry. So
Right, yes.
I'll have to check that out next time I can see it on. But no, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you, Jared, for sorting out the quiz there at the end. But you've all been fantastic. It's been great speaking to you all. And
Give some
now...
money, viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, back to the charity show.
Bye.
Yeah.